All right, should we get going here, Carl? We can kick it
Sure.
off. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for joining so far. Just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna get my screens all up. It's good. So my name is Carl. I'm one of the co-founders here at Junior Mining Hub. Thanks honestly for joining us today. We're really excited to kind of share what we've been working on and doing here. I'll just kind of run down a little bit of a list of what you can expect here and kind of the timeline of events. So we're going to start with a little bit of an introduction to the platform and some of the team members here, and then we'll really jump into why we've kind of built this and how you can leverage it and really what it's there for. At the end of all this, we'll have a Q&A section. So if you have any questions at any point, just feel free to fire them into the chat. Or actually, sorry, not the chat, into the Q&A, which is somewhere on the bottom there. There you go, beside participants. And from there, we'll do our best to answer them at the end. We do have a few that we've got to work through that we had from the fill-out form. So with that said, we'll kind of jump into it. Any other things, Andy, that we got to cover?
No, I think we're all good.
Okay. So what is Junior Mining Hub? An intro to it. So really what we are is we're an open access platform that we're here to untangle the space, and it's a tremendously large space. Junior mining and mining in general, it's constantly evolving. There's a tremendous amount of information and data and moving parts into it. And so what we wanted to do is provide a way that helps investors, helps companies, helps anyone that's involved in the space really stay up to date on what's happening out there. So that's kind of like the big picture brushstroke of what it is that we're doing here. Andy, why don't you dive into a little bit of your background there?
Yeah. So I'm a professional geoscientist. I'm based out of Kelowna, BC. Started my career in the Yukon with Archer Catholic Associates, running grassroots exploration programs up to drilling programs. I was with them for about 5 years, working for a handful of juniors. From there, moved down south to BC. Worked with Charlie Gregg's outfit for about 5 years. Most recently, VPX of Evergold Corp, working closely with Kevin Keogh, right under Charlie Gregg there as well. And then, spent a little bit of time also in Ethiopia during my career. So, spent a lot of time in the Yukon, BC, and a little bit in Ethiopia. So that's my background.
And then for myself, my career in the space started pretty early. I always wanted to go in the north of Canada, strangely enough, and so pretty well out of high school, I got a job, starting out helping with an expediter who was building exploration camps for a number of juniors. Really got exposed to the space there, and ended up making a lot of connections, meeting a lot of great people in the space, and really understanding a little bit more about it, mostly for diamonds and gold at the time. So started working in the field there, was working alongside geologists and understanding the big picture of what these companies are doing on the day-to-day. Really interesting space. So I was fortunate enough to work for Sabina Gold and Silver, Miramar, who had the Back River project, Newmont as well at the time. Eventually in my career, I migrated down south, more to the corporate kind of role, and was managing databases and GIS, so spatial information, aiding in marketing. So for me, eventually coming down south was a natural transition. But in the latter half of my career, more marketing involvement and really understanding some of the challenges that were presented to companies out there, as well as the investment side, and interpreting all this data that's out there and available in the space. And it became pretty evident that there's a lot of challenges, for both sides, right? And so what we wanted to do with Junior Mining Hub is do an effort to help clean that up, help update the space, and ultimately provide more transparency for both sides at the same time. Not an easy feat, that said. So I mean, but anyways, we'll get into that. The other two on our call, we have Amy as well. Amy is one of our geologists. She's a great help to us in the day-to-day, updating a number of things on our system. And then we also have Michael here on the team, who's an accredited investor. Michael has a great background on the investment side. He's been a director of a number of mining companies. So it's great to have both of these two on our team as well, helping keep everything updated. I'll just go, maybe I'll share my screen and kind of go into why we kind of created the hub and a little bit more depth on that. So give me a sec here. Let me move Zoom. Okay. Where do I share? There we go. Yeah, I probably had 100 Zooms, but it still gets me here. I'm on a new setup. Okay. So hopefully you can see my screen. Can you guys all see it?
Yeah.
Perfect. So, so in creating the hub, I'm speaking about some of the challenges out there, and I'll start with the company side, which is where my experience was on it. You know, we as juniors and majors in the space, more so on the junior side, we're responsible to relay all of our activities out there to the market, what it is that we're doing. And you know, I mean, our shareholders expect us to do this. We also have very busy jobs of keeping everything up to date, you know, doing our activities, actually exploring, you know, advancing our projects, regardless of what the market's doing. We're always very busy with that. But at the same time, you know, there's a challenge because there's a lot of companies out there doing the same, and it's just, and there's actually more and more these days than there ever was before. So you know, standing out amidst all this information can be obviously challenging for an investor on the other side of the spectrum. You know, how do you discern, how do you find information on companies that are specific to, let's say, your investment portfolio? It can be very challenging, right? And there isn't really, or hasn't been, a cohesive way to do that. So, you know, it became evident to us that this was a challenge that we can help solve. And the way that we can do that is with a database of information and covering things that, you know, really are moving the needle within that respect. So what we're looking at here is the platform at Junior Mining Hub. It's the homepage, which is the map tab. And, you know, within that, what we can see right away is there's a few different colors that are available to us. I'm just gonna make sure I'm going in the right order here. So, you know, really, when it comes down to what it is that we're doing, we want to highlight these market catalysts. And so on the map here, these are project-specific press releases that came out today. And these are all tied into specific projects, real projects within our system here. I'll just cover a little bit of what it is that we're seeing on the map here as I go through it. And forgive me that I don't have a specific order. There's a fair bit to unpack here. But, you know, when you think of all these projects is often the level where news pertains to. Maybe there's a drill result, or it could be, you know, let's say a resource estimate. A lot of these things are material to specific projects. So I'll just pull up, I'll share a different screen here, and I'll show my daily email, because what we wanted to do is, in line with doing things differently, was also highlight, you know, well, provide a time saver of a service too. So I'll pull up my daily from today. Share screen, there we go. And so, you know, there's a few different news distributors out there. For us, we wanted to do this different and, you know, provide a way that saves time out of the gate. So the first thing that we do is we organize this information as it comes into our system. We intercept all of the North American Exchange mining news, and when it crosses the wire, it comes to our system. We then have it, you know, categorized, so it goes into these buckets that make sense to people that often follow events that they may want to see. And the next thing that we'll do with it is we'll actually tie that information to a real project in our system. So if you're not already on our daily email, this is an example of what it looks like. This was today. Today was a fairly busy day, but we're starting at the top with drilling results. As we scroll down, we'll see a visual kind of breakout of what those look like. And as we go a little bit further, we get into drilling updates. You know, we'll get into mergers and acquisitions. So a lot of these big categories that are, you know, moving the needle for companies out there. And often, you know, things like project acquisitions and M&A can be quite a big thing, although, you know, financing is as well. You know, our goal with organizing this is to let you find what's interesting to you and to save you time, because I don't know how many, Andy, you can let me know on today, how many articles we had, but you know, if you're just seeing this information as lines of headlines, it you know, you can easily miss something. And I know for myself, I'm sure it's the same for you. There's more and more things grabbing at our attention every day. So we wanted to do this in a way that really helps you and you find usable. You know, the next thing, as I said, in tying this into a project, you know, we can tie this into a database of projects. So I just clicked on, I think Sitka there, but when you click on the article, it'll actually bring you into the project, and I'll just come back to that. Sorry, I'm bouncing around a bit here. So for endurance, maybe I'll go to endurance here. So when we click on this project, what we can do is we dive into the system here. So we'll see the actual project location. What also becomes available about it and that we can find that's additional is, surrounding projects to it. And often, a big piece of the puzzle is, within a jurisdiction is knowing where a company is, but also who the peers are in the area. So, where is this? Where are we? What mining jurisdiction are we in? Are we in a politically safe zone? Are we in an area that has a lot of historic drilling? Is this something completely new? Are there majors involved in this space? A lot of questions, and I think to do due diligence beyond just a ripping drill result or something, we want to come in and understand a little bit more about the area. So that's a lot of why we've kind of made a system like this. It's a way for everyone to truly stay up to date on the day to day. But let's zoom a little bit out here, and I'll just refresh over to the map here, highlight some of the colors so that you can understand a little bit better. Because there is a fair bit to unpack here. I'll start a little bit from the higher level. When you're looking at the map and you're loaded into it, you'll note that, and as I said, we're covering the North American exchanges, but that said, those assets can be anywhere on the globe. We will expand this system over to the ASX and outwards from there, but at the moment we're covering the North American exchanges. So two kind of colors that become apparent here to us is yellow and blue. The big difference between the two of them is these are all project specific news articles, but for the yellow ones, these are clients of ours who are helping support us because we're not monetizing any users of the platform. They provide additional information for us. They help us keep the system up and running. So let's go a little bit into that. Well, those are the two differences with those colors. Beyond that, for the yellow ones, there's actually a lot more information that is available to you as an audience that you can learn about these companies. And let's maybe dive into an area of BC. We'll highlight some of the other colors. So on the map here, you will see that there is, these are all projects, as I mentioned here. So all of these gray ones that you're seeing here are ones that our team, Amy, Andrew, and myself have added to the system. And the way that we add these is when news becomes relevant about a project, that's typically when we update it within our system, if we don't already have it. If they're this kind of teal color here, this means that the company has come onto the system and essentially verified this asset. And then when it's red here, there's news on this project today. If projects are green, which we'll see, I'll just jump to an area where there's a few more of those. Those are clients of ours. So there's an abundance of information actually additionally to any news that's tied in here. So as we kind of click onto it, I'll dive into one and show you a little bit more and some of the differences. But do know that in instances of gray ones on here, typically in most cases that we just haven't actually reached out to that company yet and spoke to them. Otherwise, I think a lot more of them would be in the teal color there. But with teal ones, that's a free registration. For us in providing all this information, our goal here is untangling the space at the end of the day and making this information accessible to everyone. So with Northwest Copper, who I just clicked on here, we can see right away this is their East Nib project. We can see that this is in the Golden Horseshoe as well as the Stikine terrain. It's a copper gold. It's an advanced exploration. We can see their stock information, learn a little bit more about them, their market cap, how they've been trading. We can see some project-specific news as well for this project, as well as a company news tab here. So this would encompass all of their news. And if I didn't say so already, when you are loading into the map here, all of these icons here, it's a database of information. So there's robust filtering capabilities in here. We could, let's say, go back in time and filter out a specific thing. But these are project-specific news articles. So if we wanted to see anything else that, let's say, didn't necessarily pertain to a project, that will all be housed within the newsroom here, as well as on our daily email. And the way we do it is we basically capture anything today that was after market close yesterday. That's kind of what's represented on the map that you're seeing on the day-to-day. Okay, let's jump to what's next. So I'll highlight there's a search bar here, and we can punch in companies here or specific projects. So I'll just type in Azimuth Exploration, and we'll go to their all projects. So Asmit's a very large landholder in Quebec, and what we wanted to do with providing this service here is allow you to see where companies are working, as well as what information is relevant around them. And we can see which are their wholly owned projects, which ones are available for option JV, so ones that they may be looking to vend, as well as ones that are specifically under an option or a joint venture. There's other things that we can punch in here as well, because again, this is meant to be a tool to unpack the space. So let's type in something that we've probably all heard of, the Golden Triangle. So I'll jump that in here. So the Golden Triangle is a mineral district within British Columbia, and we can search for that in here as well. We can search for companies. There's a number of things. I should highlight, when there are instances of, if let's say you use the search bar and you can't find a project that it does exist. What that typically means is that we haven't yet added it to our system because there may not have been relevant news about it recently. And you'll have to let me know, Andy, when we started. I can't remember capturing these projects into the system, but we just know that we do our best to add everything as best we can into the system. But sometimes there are instances where we don't have access to a certain claim system. So, well, like I said, we'll do our best to highlight that, and we'll prioritize, really things that are moving the needle. So drill results, maybe it's M&A, or it could be resource estimates, ESG. All that sort of stuff takes the front seat. Some project news, if we have no resource available out there scraping CEDAR or a company's website, where our hands are somewhat tied. You'll note that in Canada that, there's a lot more actual projects that we can see on here. So there's a lot more information available. And for us being based in Canada, we're very familiar with the claim system. Once we get outside of that, it can be a little bit more challenging. So you'll see a lot of point information. And what we'll typically do is we'll take a centroid or a center point within a project that we have confidence on, and that's what we'll allocate that project to. That said, any company can, again, come on and register for free, and they can update their asset portfolio. They just need to reach out to us and essentially request that, and then we'll give them a back-end login, or we can update it for them if they share files with us. Under that, they're allowed to essentially update commodities or the stage of a project, any ownership, the high level stuff that they want market to know about a project. We'll allow them to update there. There's also a search bar on the top here. So again, we can just do a quick search on a company. I'll type in Asmit, because we just looked them up. So again, within this here, we can do a quick lookup at the stock information, how this company is trading, as well as their news. We can see their asset portfolio as well. So again, that's fully there for you to use. Where am I going to next here? So within the map here, there is a legend that's going to be on the left-hand side. There's a number of things, and I believe Andy's going to go through these in more detail, but know that you can essentially filter through a lot of this information to highlight things that you're looking for. I've said a few times at this point, news that's project specific is what's shown on the map. News that's not project specific will be encompassed within the newsroom tab here. We'll front load this with our client information, our client news that was out that day, but the rest of this is all chronological. And there's a number of these, buckets here that we can kind of filter and search through. So we can see all of the drilling results that came out today. Of course, we can filter back in time, and I think it defaults here to all time. So again, we could go back quite a ways in there. Non-drill result drilling updates are often very material, so we have that included in here, as well as financials, resource estimates, mergers and acquisitions. Within mergers and acquisitions, we'll have project acquisitions specifically in there too. Impactful news is something that I do want to highlight here. This is really helpful, on the investment side when you're looking at news, but also, as someone that's involved, a mining executive, this is where we can see what's moving the needle that had news out today. And, sometimes news comes out and it crosses our desks on our side, and we don't necessarily realize something's, that material. But this is a place where, this kind of filter deals with that for us, so we can see what's moving the needle quite a bit today. Unfortunately, it's red, but tough market out there right now. Let's go over to the next tab here. So this is market movers, and within market movers, we have a lot of that same functionality built in from the impactful news. But one of the big differences within here is that, there's a lot of, well, for starters, it's not all there doesn't have to be news on it. So we could have, it'll start with any, but we could go to only without news and see what's moving the needle up or down. And we wanted to build in a lot of tools here that help people understand the space, but also help them find specifically what they might be looking for based on their investment portfolio. So let's see, trading over $1 million today in volume, what's kind of up and down, right? We could filter out by, let's say market cap as well. Maybe we could go above 400 mil. We could do exchange specifically. We could search for a date range as well within this and see how things are trading over the last 2 weeks or the month. So again, this is there for you to utilize and really, just take advantage of and help stay up to date on companies that you're interested in. There's also a watch list within here where once you create a free login on the platform, you can just save this into your companies as you like, and you can keep tabs on them. Maybe Andy, I'll let you jump in and you can tackle the next section here, the articles.
Yeah, absolutely.
We lose you there, Andy?
Yeah, my screen's trying to load here. Sorry about that, guys. Let me try one more time here, and if not, Carl, I'll have to let you take over. How's that looking here? You good? Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. So I'm gonna hop into the article section here. So this is something that we just recently rolled out. So what we do here is we can actually add articles. So I've written a few articles. So has Eric Lemieux, Jeff Clark from the Gold Advisor. And what's unique about this here is that we can actually start tying it to locations. So you're not just seeing, a plain article. You can actually start getting that spatial data associated with it. So in this one, I wrote a piece on the Tombstone Gold Belt, highlighting, obviously since we're a subscription-based model, we want to obviously speak to our clients and give them as much exposure as we can where we can. So that being said, we cover, everything that's important. We're trying to be transparent at the same time. But what we can see here is, an article speaking to the going-ons of the Tombstone Gold Belt right now, which is obviously super hot. Some projects available for option JV in there. And then just a nice summary of, the reduced intrusion geological model. So, it's just a little bit more information that we can get to, so you can start kind of zooming in, seeing where these different projects are. You can click on these projects. Obviously, the green flashing projects are our clients, so we can get more information out of these guys. So once we click on here, you can, more dive into their project summary, get a little bit more information. So that's the article section. So what we're doing now is we're reaching out to our clients to let them know that they can start adding this, and these articles will be featured in the weekly email moving forward. So that's the article section here. I'm going to move into this drilling results tab. So each morning, Carl and I were up kind of 3:30, same with Amy, 3:30, 4 a.m. To ensure that we can get these drilling results dialed in for you guys in the daily email to give a little bit more color and more context. So I'm going to go to our drilling results tab here. It defaults for the week. These more blue faded ones here, these are from today. But again, you can filter for date ranges, commodities, market cap, locations, and then, another neat one too is ranking, so you can see kind of what's been moving here. What's been moving up and down on the needle here. So just another cool feature to kind of keep up to date on what's happening on these companies that are drilling.
Yeah, and I
So
think
next,
maybe
go ahead.
fair to point out there, Andy, as well, just with the different commodities, I guess, associated with it. And you know, the way we've broken that drilling results tab out is, you know, you can filter by specific commodity, but often a drill result will contain a few different commodities. Now, Andy's the geo, so this is more his wheelhouse, so I'll let you elaborate on it.
Yeah, for sure. So whenever you see a gold equivalent value, it's tied into what the company has in their news release. It's not using, live prices or anything like that. We try to be somewhat transparent there, keeping it to date. So if there is an equivalency, we'll use it. If not, we won't. It's always a challenge trying to choose a primary metal, especially when there's multi commodities, that are quite close. But we do our best here to kind of shed light on the primary metals. So, if it's a copper porphyry, we're not adding the silver credits into the silver results. We're trying to keep it. If it's a silver project, it's going to end up in the silver bucket. If it's a copper project, it ends up in the copper. But like I said, when they get pretty close, it can be pretty challenging, especially if companies have gold equivalencies and copper equivalencies within it. But we do our best to keep these up to date with what we need. All right, so I'm gonna get into a couple of case studies here of kind of investor breakdown of how to use a site, and then how a mining company, mining execs can use it, and then finally service providers. It's going to be a high level overview. I'm not going to get too in depth initially, but this news filter here is quite powerful. So what we can do is we can set a duration. So let's do the last 30 days. Let's go into the James Bay area. And let's look for M&As. So let's do some joint ventures, mergers and acquisitions, find acquisitions, and just hit the search. And we can zoom in here. And in the past 30 days, this is what we're tracking on the hub for M&As in this area. So obviously, if you're interested in M&As, keeping up to date on what's happening, potential opportunities for some early players moving into these active districts. This is a great way of doing it. Another one that we can do is, say you're looking for companies that have begun drilling in the past 30 days who have that meet a requirement that you're looking for market cap and share outstanding. Let's just do last 30 days. Let's do a market cap of, say, 0 to 20, and then shares outstanding. Let's do, just doing things right in the way, isn't it? Less than 60 mil. Search. Oh, I didn't do that right. What did I do? I need to check the drilling commence button here. Sorry about that. So right here, this is kind of that hot list of, who are these companies that can potentially pop? They're kind of the higher risk appetite for investors. So right here, you can kind of build a bit of a watch list of these companies that, if they do end up hitting, could have, very high returns. So just another example for investors there. Now, Carl already kind of touched on it here, but I'm going to go into a little bit more in depth of what we're trying to do kind of as that overall piece where we're trying to help the industry. And that's going to go into the golden triangle. So we built out a number of mineral belts. I think we're over 100 now. And what we're trying to do is just be able to allow investors to come in and learn about these different areas, learn about the active players within them. So right off the hop, we put our clients here as brand ambassadors, because these are the guys that are actually representing the triangle for us and helping us build this forward. We can get into companies and projects. If you hover over them, you'll be able to see on the map where they are. You can also filter for commodity, stage, all that sort of stuff. For the news, anything that is project specific within the triangle will live in this news section. So it's a great way to kind of just keep up to date on what's happening in the triangle. In this case, any articles written, ranked row results again. So this row result tab has now been brought in. to here. And we can see kind of the ranked results for all the commodities. And I think it defaults to the start of this year. And again, you can rank it and see who's kind of moving, who's moved the most, say, over the past 90 days. And there's SK Goliath. Obviously, it's a challenging market right now. Let's just say that. And then from there, I worked about 5 years in the triangle here, so I've written a brief summary. And then you can go a step further. You can actually start exploring it, where I've added the Khyber red line, important geological feature, where deposits tend to form on either side of it. So you can start seeing who's straddling that red line. Any of the deposits, any of the mines, all that sort of stuff, it all lives here. So again, it's just a really great resource for investors to learn about these areas and jurisdictions. Even me as a geologist, I find it very challenging to move over to, say, the Abitibi, and particularly out of Canada as well. It becomes a challenge. So we're trying to build out these different mineral belts to really compartmentalize this and allow folks to learn more about it. Let's see what's next. Okay, so many of our clients are product generators. So we've also built out a listing piece here. So for investors, if you guys are looking for projects available for option JV, we do have a number of these listed on our site. They're restricted to our clients, but private companies can come on here as well and list, as well as individual claim holders. So this is, we don't take any piece of the transaction here. We're just helping companies connect with investors to help find either a partner or some investment on it. And then finally, let's go to, sorry, we're going pretty quick on time here. I might have to hop up here, Carl, to just go through some of the how mining execs can use it on the day-to-day. So let's, being in the space and all of a sudden, you wake up in the morning, there's news next door, and say you don't know that there's news next door, and you get that phone call from the investors saying, hey, do you see that news next door? This is a great tool just to not be caught off guard and know what's happening in your area, what's happening next door. So that's kind of, on the day-to-day, it's just a great resource for mining execs to know what the heck's happening around them. Companies can also add secondary layers to their projects to help inform investors and kind of put forward what they want to showcase and what's most important about their projects. So we've added these secondary layers here. We can actually explore some of these different features. So for Evergold here, they've added a 3D model. They've added their geochem footprints, stuff like that. From there, we can link 3D models, all that sort of stuff. So this is something that our clients can utilize to help inform their investors and possible investors in the space here. We had Joe Mazumdar come to our booth at Roundup when we first launched, and Asmit, they've been a great advocate for what we're doing. I would say they're one of the companies that utilizes it to the fullest. So what they do is they actually use this to speak to investors, to tell their story, to show them their portfolio. They can speak to who's in the area, what they're doing, how it pertains to their projects, what infrastructure they may have in the area, all that sort of stuff that becomes, so much more easily digestible for an investor when you can actually see it versus being told it. So this is just a really great way for mining execs to utilize this, to shed light on what they're doing. And then finally, for these guys, so they get to share this link to their investors, and it'll drive them right to their asset portfolio. But they can also just hit a share content button here. So can investors, anyone, all this stuff shareable on our site. So now they can just flip out Elmer to an investor or to a stakeholder, whoever it may be. So we're trying to just make it a lot easier again for companies to share their story. And finally, I'll just touch quickly on service providers. So, you know, being in the space and being a service provider myself as a geologist, some of the key things that you may want to hone in on are those news filters. So you may want to filter for who's done private placements in the past 30 days, you know, who's drilling currently, or, you know, who's released exploration results for geophysical surveys and sampling results. So the more early stage group. So you can start kind of filtering through and seeing who's active in your neighborhood of where you service. So in here, this is your friend. So use it if you are a service provider, because there's so many different things that you can filter for if it's drilling, commenced drilling results, you know, and then you can get into like permitting, project updates, sampling results, any spin outs, ESG. So there's a ton of filters. So I recommend just kind of playing around with this here, because it is an enormous resource. We've been kind of capturing data now for over a year now. So it's a pretty robust system that you guys can leverage to make your lives easier on the day-to-day. So Carl, I think I'll pass this back to you. I think that's what I really wanted to touch on, for kind of the user interface and how to utilize it. You're on mute there, Carl.
Thank you. Yeah, so we're running a little short on time. Obviously, it's a lot of information to try to cover all in one shot here. So we are doing a bit of a cursory pass, but I'll just highlight a few things on a company side, what we're doing for companies as well. You know, and again, in my experience in the space, there can often be a let's call it a challenge for when it comes to, you know, ROI on investment, ROI on marketing endeavors. So we really want to build this in a way that's functional, obviously in a transparent platform. We're doing that, we're relaying that, we're making shareable functions like Andy was quick to point out here. For companies as well, the subscribing clients of ours, a couple other tools that we're providing for them can live on their website. And this is just a way we can help them with our system update their space. So if Coast is a client of ours here, often what we'll do is any of our clients will actually provide them with interactive maps for their website. So just know that this is there if that is you in the audience here. Azimuth has this for specific projects, you know, on their website. You know, we're here to support. We're here to help you relay information. That's kind of our goal here, and provide you with, you know, tools that help you tell your story. Tico Minerals is also a client. They have a presentation here, which I can jump over to it. So Tico's got a great presentation here. They're actually able to embed this within that, which is pretty darn cool. So we can kind of jump right into this. I didn't even know you could do this before that, but we can see a, you know, project summary, a lot of information all connected in here. So I just want to highlight that we do these interactive maps for companies. On the company level, I think, you know, that's kind of the last bits we were going to cover, Andy?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So I think we kind of scheduled to get into a Q&A here. I was trying to answer one on the side here that I think I clicked on answer live, which I don't think it was working for. In any event, there was one that came in and it said, hello, I'm based in Africa. You know, to be specific, is there anything you can do to help our companies out here highlight what's involved in Africa? And I think this was somewhat covered, but again, if your company is public and is traded on the North American exchange, we can feature that company here. We can highlight all that information and link it all in there. If it's not in our system yet, do reach out to us, info@Junior Mining Hub, and we'll make sure to add you in the system. If your company is private, so you're not on any exchanges, those companies can actually be added into the system as well. And it is relevant information. And we're more than happy to support that because, again, you know, maybe like you might be a private company next door to a bunch of publics, you know, but that ground is spoken for. So that helps the system for everybody. And we're more than happy to provide tools that can help your website as well at the same time. How do I list my claims for option sale JV that just came in. It depends who you are. So if you're a company, you would have to basically have a subscription with us. And then we can walk you through how to do that. It's pretty simple. You'll have a back-end dashboard that you can access that. And within that dashboard, whether you're a company or an individual claim holder, whatever the case may be, you can add other people to it where, you can delegate things, you can, update projects within the system. But to list your assets, that is a subscription-based service because there's a bit of work that we have to do on our side for that. There's another question here. I understand Brian Lundeen is a supporter of your hub, and Brian did send out a note yesterday, I think, to his list. Is Rick Rule also supportive of the hub as a research benefit to investors? That's a great question. I don't know the full answer to that. We did speak with Rick, and that would have been, when was that, Andy? December?
I was in December, yeah, before we hard launched.
Yeah, so the platform was in a very different state at that time. Rick's a pretty hard guy to get a hold of, I'll say that. But I mean, we're working with Brian Lundeen right now, so hopefully we'll be chatting with Rick and bringing him up to speed on this, because at the end of the day, our goal is to help investors, help the mining space. So the more kind of key people we can bring into that fold, the better. Obviously, the larger the networks, that really helps everybody. Andy did show this. He didn't show an example of it, so I'll just try to do one on the fly here. Within that sharing capability, we had a few promoters kind of asking if there was a way to do this. So there's this little button here that's we can create an open graph image, is what it's called. Most people have never heard of that. What it is it's, let's say you wanted to share something specific that you were seeing on the map here. Maybe I'll just dive right into here. And of course, my Zoom stuff is in the way. So say I want to just tweet about this. So I'll make this for Twitter or whatever. I'll make it on LinkedIn here. So I'll make a square. So we wanted to kind of create a way to, attract more engagement. So we can visually create an image of a specific instance on the map. And we could have turned on, let's say, maybe we filtered out only gold projects or rare earth element projects or something like that. But we can create what's called an open graph image URL, and then I could go into something like LinkedIn and actually just paste that in because it'll copy to my clipboard. So let's just show you that works, and hopefully it doesn't fail on a live webinar. There we go. So, we wanted to build this in a way that encourages engagement. So if there is something specific that you do find relevant that you want to, highlight attention to, just know that that's built in here. And when somebody actually clicks on that image, it'll drive them right back into what it is that you were seeing from that same view. Yeah, here it'll zoom in. I think we had another question as well.
Yeah, it's more specific to coal. We don't really touch on coal yet. That being said, this is built in a way that it can start touching on those different industries, oil and gas, coal, etc. But right now, I would say that we can't really help you in that regard until down the line when something like that's built out.
Yeah.
I think there was another one too. It was, are you planning on adding insiders and short positions to the platform? Yes, this is something that we will be doing. Not yet, but yeah, this is our V1. We're definitely open to suggestions of what can help you guys on the day-to-day and make your lives easier on here. We're trying to advocate for the companies to get on here so we don't have to go to 10 to 15 different websites to learn about one area. It's really nice to be able to provide the investor community with like right here in the Yukon, where it's pretty darn full of clients, and that way everything's at our fingertips. We can learn so much more so much quickly, and stay up to date on everything that's happening. So that's our ultimate goal, is to have most of the companies on here and have it as a resource. And that being said, there's going to be other pieces that we need to build out, and we would love to hear from you guys of what's going to help you guys on the day-to-day as well.
Yeah, I think we kind of meant to cover as well some of the direction of where some other pieces are going. So that there's a constant pipeline that we're kind of evaluating on our side of what's gonna help the most. I should just add for companies, because Andy was showing those secondary layers for Evergold Corp there. So, we are just finalizing a few tests on it, but we will be incorporating raster imagery into here. So things like, and what that means is, think of an image like, say, something like a geophysical anomaly or maybe a soil geochem anomaly. These heat maps. The capabilities to bring that into here, we're just fleshing that all out. It can be a little bit complex because there's a number of different data formats, but we do want to bring that information into here because, let's say that, and we're on Rogue project here. Now, Rogue's been a really hot project anyway, but, maybe a geophys anomaly on here could highlight something that, and I'm not a geo, so I'm not going to say that I know that on this project, but could highlight some things. And certainly there can be implications from this sort of information that might transfer over to a neighboring project. So we do want to give and provide companies with the ability to have that on there. I think, as well from a big picture, this is, as Andy said, it's V1 or version 1 of this. So there's a lot of room to grow this. There's a lot more data that can come into here too. And ultimately, we need to ensure that this is going to be very snappy for our users and our database to use. Andy, I don't know if there's any other ones you want to kind of touch on.
Yeah, one of the questions was, what are the most used parts of the platform? And obviously the daily email is a huge time saver. So that kind of brings you into the platform. But once you're in it, we've had a lot of good talks with brokers and analysts, and the way that they utilize it is to see where financings are happening, on the North American stock exchanges. So they can kind of start seeing where these areas become hot. And they can start honing in on these areas to look at different projects. So that's one example. But I would say the main pieces are being able to stay up to date on just where news is happening in areas that you're interested in, but being able to digest different areas that you may not be used to. And it might open up some different opportunities for you to learn a lot quicker versus having to go through that. There's just no real great resource out there to be able to kind of break that down. So we're trying to bring that in. So I'd say those are, and it just depends who you are too. If you're looking for projects, obviously you're going to use that available for option JV and filter through and see if there's anything that interests you. So yeah, there's quite a few different aspects depending on who you are.
Yeah, putting on my investor hat, I would say one of the things I like about the platform is the closeology play aspect. So when somebody gets a big hit and it's all over social media and their stock price is rising, you can easily find out who's around there and what the trends are and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, I just want to highlight, I have the weekly summary. Are you seeing that now?
Yeah.
Okay, so on Saturdays we'll do a bit of a recap of what happened on the week. We'll always include kind of the top drilling intercepts. And just to be clear, so we're not adding every single drill result that a company will put out in a press release. We'll take their top intercept, and that's what gets categorized into that visual. So a company could have several within here, but that's not the way we're representing it. So I just want to be forward on what that is. And also, if you are sharing, we'll do posts with this. If you do share it on LinkedIn, who is it, the CSE? We'll sometimes.
Yeah, the BCSE.
Yeah, thank you. And it's just because what is the reasoning there again, Andy?
Well, it's a challenge for us because we aren't reporting the equivalencies that we're reporting are actually equivalencies that are listed in the news releases, but the Securities Exchange is thinking that we're making these numbers up and using live values. Trying to get it across them is very, very challenging, unfortunately, because truly this is just a true representation of the day. And we're not creating these numbers. These numbers are fixed numbers that are found in the news releases. But either way, it is what it is. We're still just trying to, provide some context to these results to kind of allow you guys to do a little more DD if it interests you.
Yeah. And so this is the weekly here. So we start out with that view of the weekly drilling results. We'll see as well the market movers. So this is a great way to kind of, again, capture some high level information about who was up or down that week, or sorry, I should say who was up. If you want to see who's down, you can do that on the site itself as well. But again, it's just a great way to kind of stay on top of that and see how those those companies are moving. The impactful news. So I did show that in the newsroom tab there. You'll see a summary in the weekly email that shows the weekly movement, and we can kind of see what each one of these is. There's a legend at the bottom. So M&A is these arrows forming together here. So fair bit of M&A, often something that's moving the needle quite a bit. So big implications from that. And again, we'll get into featured companies here. These again are the supporters of us that are helping us provide all this information. So we'll re-showcase their news from the previous week. As well as we'll see some trending news. So I do want to highlight this because this is also, these are articles within our system that are getting the most attention. So often something that you may want to just jump back and revisit. I think that is mostly it. Unless we have any other questions, then we can just hold out for questions. So if you have any questions, and feel free to jump them in there into the Q&A button. You can also email us, and so you can send a question to info@juniormininghub.com, and we'll reply to you there privately. If you are a representative of a mining company, or let's say a service provider, individual, someone involved in the space, let's say non-investor, and you do want to understand how you can leverage this platform for yourself or your company, do reach out to us as well. We're more than happy to sit down for a demo and discuss that for you. So I'll just hold out and see if there's any questions. And Andy, if anything jumps up that we haven't covered, feel free to jump in.
No, I think we're all good here.
I see somebody has their hand up.
Oh,
Okay. How do we do that?
I'm not seeing it on my end.
So we're pretty busy into our side of it. We're not pros on Zoom webinars, if you haven't noticed yet. Mike, do you see the hand raised?
I see Masha Bella has her hand up, so I'm not sure if she wants to ask a question by the audio.
Yeah, let's hit it on the spot if we can. Do you know how to do that, Andy?
What am I trying to do here? Sorry, I was just answering a question there.
Oh, there's a hand raised from someone that is going to ask a question, I think, if you can see that on your side. Mike, are you seeing it?
Yeah, I'm unable to unmute them. So
is it under participants?
Yeah, under attendees, under participants. Yeah.
Try that, Andy.
Yeah, it's not showing.
So if you go to participants, Andy, and then
there it is. It's
yeah.
Hey there.
Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you for the webinar. Thanks for the opportunity that you have presented to us. My question is, I'd like to find out if you are a contractor, how are you able to participate in this space, in the space that you've created? If you're a contractor, maybe you're on your civil and building contract and also on your yellow plant machinery. How are you able to participate?
Yeah, so there's two ways on our platform to participate right now. The first way is we're opening up ad space on our daily email that goes out on the day-to-day. There's also a service providers piece. I'll see if I can. You're sharing? Hey, Carl.
Yeah, you go ahead. Sure, you do it.
So this is again very preliminary. We don't have anyone signed up, but this is kind of the gist of what we're trying to do here. So we have a service provider button here. So what we can do is we can search for, say, a drilling company. I'm going to turn off the, okay, perfect, turn the news off. Sorry guys, my computer's pretty darn slow here. But what it'll do is basically it'll show you where your
just in case it cuts out on time there, that I guess high level, the idea here with the service providers is, you know, we want to ensure that companies are aware of where service providers are operating and working, where their bases are, how to contact them. So we want to help that aspect of it. So help the companies out in that regard. So that's kind of what Andy's showing you. And I think, as he said there, it's a bit preliminary. It hasn't really been our focus, but it's definitely a component that we will be working on here in the future. So whether it's construction or maybe drilling, geophysics, whatever the case may be, where we want to support that aspect of it and help that those connections can be made, right? And, you know, I think as Andy was showing as well before, for service providers, maybe it's even just seeing which companies are there amidst this resource that are in your jurisdiction that you could reach out to. But, you know, to be on the other side of it for a mining executive to be able to come on here down the road to see who is working and operating where, can tell them a few different things. For starters, we could see what their experience is, what projects they've worked on, but also maybe in some instances, if they want to disclose it, where they're currently working, because there might be some opportunities to leverage, let's say on mob costs or something like that. So again, we want to help connect the space in a number of different facets there, and that's how we're intending to do it. We made it to the hour mark. And I didn't get us out, so
yeah,
that's good.
Well, I'd like to say thank you everyone for joining us today. And if you guys have any questions, like Carl said, reach out to us at info@juniormininghub.com. Carl, maybe you have a roundup statement you want to say?
Now I'm on the fly. Not really. Just, you know, again, like Andy said, you know, we appreciate your support, appreciate your time today in joining this, and yeah, definitely don't be a stranger to reach out to us. We're here to support and help connect both sides of the industry, particularly the investment side, and we appreciate support from everybody out there. We've been getting a lot so far, so it's been really good. You know, we're an open book when it comes to how things are operating. You know, so just definitely reach out to us, and we'll figure out a way that we can help you and you know, help you specifically, whether you're investing or whether you're a company that needs a little bit more exposure. I think that's it. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Ready.
Yeah, have a great week.
Bye now.